The Alaska State Poetry Out Loud competition is made possible by the Alaska State Council on the Arts in partnership with the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council, the National Endowment for the Arts, and the Poetry Foundation.
Good evening. Thank you to all of you for coming out for this really wonderful, inspirational evening. I'm Nancy DeCherney with the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council, and it has really been our pleasure over these years to present this wonderful event. I'm not going to say too much. I'm going to introduce the mayor, who will welcome all of you and all of the visitors in here and all of you on television land to Juneau. Come on out. Ken Kelsch.
No attack post? No attack. No attack for the music, right? All right. Thank you. As Nancy said, I am Ken Kelch, Mayor of the City and Borough of Juneau. It is my distinct honor to welcome statewide finals for the National Poetry Out Loud competition to Juneau. Above my desk in the mayor's office are two of the stanzas of poetry that speak to me and guide me every day. One is by Langston Hughes. The first stanza is, "Hold fast to dreams. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly." The other one that's above my desk is from my favorite American poet, Robert Frost. It's the last stanza of Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So poetry will guide you as you go through your life. It never leaves you, and I'm so glad that you're here. So we did a welcome to Juneau, and this was kind of fun for myself and women in the office to try to put together a welcome, so take it as it is. We have days of rain, and sometimes there's snow surrounded by mountains and waters that flow. You've traveled far to complete in the slam. Your voices will be heard, the crowd will all jam. You're the best in the state, and that's why you're here. So welcome to Juneau, a town I hold dear. Juneau's the capital and really quite pretty. I hope you'll enjoy your time in our city. Poetry's your thing, and that's rather cool. You're here to recite and represent your school. I'm sitting down now. I'm ready to listen to Poetry Out Loud statewide competition. Welcome. And I have the honor of introducing Ben Brown, the president of the Alaska Council. Is that correct? And probably president of everything else. So, Ben Brown.
Thanks very much to the mayor of Juneau for that kind introduction. I'm Benjamin Brown. I'm the chairman of the Alaska State Council on the Arts, and it's a great honor and privilege. We're an 11-member volunteer group appointed by the governor of Alaska, and we oversee the very small and very hardworking staff, two of whom are here today in Juneau, Andrea Noble-Palant, our executive director, and Laura Forbes, our education program director. And one of my fellow council members, Pat Race from Juneau, is here. And really, it's a collective effort. We work very closely together, talking to one another all the time, texting, staying in constant touch to make sure we can do all the great work that we're able to do. We're also very grateful to our friends in the Alaska legislature. We are the official state agency of the state of Alaska, and without the modest but very crucial appropriation from the legislature, we would not be legally eligible to receive funds from our partners at the National Endowment for the Humanities. And those two pieces of public funding have enabled us in recent years to leverage significantly larger sums in private foundation funding. And we see that as the future. We know that governmental resources at both the state and federal level are straitened today and are likely to remain straightened. So we are just so grateful that we have that base of infrastructure on which to build higher and higher to continue offering great programs like Poetry Out Loud, which is one of the many things the State Council on the Arts does. And this is a program that has just gone literally and by leaps and bounds to a larger and stronger and more important part of what we do as an agency. And so many Alaskan students participate in this competition now. It's really, really exciting. And it's true across every state and jurisdiction and territory in the country. I was privileged to be in our nation's capital a few years ago when Mava Ordaz won the national finals, a West High School student at the time. Now she's at Columbia University. And I have to tell you, I was bursting at the seams with pride as an Alaskan, as an Arts Council chairman. And I rushed the stage and I jumped up. It wasn't very well secured, I have to say, because I was right next to Jane Shu, the chairman of the NEA, who was like, who is he? Well, we're friends now, but at the time I think she was a little alarmed. But Mava, to be quite honest, remembered me from having come not once but twice to these statewide finals here in Juneau. So I'm so happy I was able to meet our young participants today. They've had a good time, I think, so far. We got to go visit First Lady Donna Walker at the governor's house, which was a real special treat. But I think the biggest treat is what you're all about to see now, which is to hear them recite these poems that they have worked so very hard on to be here. And I know that they're going to just do a tremendous job and impress you and make our judges' lives incredibly difficult. I've been a judge before for this competition, and it's not easy. So you're warned. But it's going to be, I think, a painful labor of love for you. So with that, back to partners. The Poetry Foundation is, along with the National Endowment for the Arts, integral to the success of this endeavor. There would not be Poetry Out Loud but for the vision of former NEA Chairman Dana Gioia, and he obviously brought the Poetry Foundation on at the very ground level. But the treat we have this year is Stephen Young, who's the program director for the Poetry Foundation, is here visiting Alaska's capital city. So with no further ado, let me introduce Stephen Young of the Poetry Foundation, and best wishes to all of you for a successful and very enjoyable evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. It's great to be back in Alaska. I lived in Valdez many summers ago and later got engaged in Seward. So it's a special place to me. It's probably cliche by now, but my wife likes to remind me of the old saw about women seeking men in Alaska. The odds are good, but the goods are odd. By odd, she must mean individual and original and ruggedly handsome, or so I tell myself. On behalf of the National Endowment for the Arts and the Poetry Foundation, I want to thank the Alaska State Council on the Arts, especially Ben Brown, Andrea Noble-Plant, Laura Forbes, Amanda Filori, and their many talented colleagues and partners for bringing Poetry Out Loud to the last frontier. No small feat given this wild and beautiful expanse. Since the program began in 2005, nearly 3.5 million students and 50,000 teachers from some 12,000 schools across the country have participated in Poetry Out Loud, and the program continues to grow. All of you are part of this nationwide movement. People might wonder, why should poetry matter? Everyone here knows that the art has a value unto itself. What's more, when you memorize a poem, you build a lasting connection with it. The poem may ignite your imagination and your capacity to feel what others have felt. You might understand new things in fresh, unexpected ways, not just in the work itself, but in the world beyond it too. When you share poems, this evening for example, the good grows and you make possible the creative, empathetic exchange upon which any community depends, now and always. One gets a sense of this power in a few lines from Long Before We Got Here, Long After We're Gone, by Alaskan poet Peggy Shoemaker. We make of light arpeggio crystals, caribou dance fans, shush of bristles. One moment made alive, human, unafraid. All that's lost, not gone. Let me offer cheers to the many teachers, parents, and friends who've inspired tonight's contestants, and big, grateful hoorays to all the remarkable students who will soon take the stage. We are each other's magnitude and bond, Gwendolyn Brooks said, and you, more than ever, are ours. Congratulations, and good luck to everyone.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrea Noble-Palant, and I have the pleasure of being the Executive Director of the Alaska State Council on the Arts. And I'd like to thank you again, welcome you here, and Juneau feels like a second home for us. We're here in January for the Governor's Arts Awards for Arts and Humanities. So we're very connected to the humanities as well, as Ben mentioned. Thank you tonight, Steve, for your words and talking about your connection to Alaska. That helps us feel closer to you, and that's nice to start our evening that way. We're grateful for the support of the National Endowment for the Arts and our friends in DC who are pulling for us for public funding for the arts, which is critical at this time more than ever in our current climate. Tonight, we have wonderful MC. I'm happy to introduce to you Allison Holtkamp. She is an actor and director at Perseverance Theater here in Juneau, and also with performances in Anchorage for the past few years. They've been performing there, which is wonderful to be able to take them north. Tonight, I also want to let you know a little bit about her. She is a stand-up comedian with Club Baby Seal, and you'll want to remember that because then you can follow where she'll be performing. And her next performance is March 18th. Thank you. Let's welcome Allison.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to Poetry Out Loud 2017. I'm honored to be your MC this evening, and I'm looking forward to hearing all the amazing work from these students tonight. I had the chance to talk to them earlier, and I cannot wait. But first things first, I just want to introduce our judges. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about them in round 2. But tonight our judges are Emily Wall of Juneau, Julie LeMay of Palmer, Jeremy Pataki of Anchorage, Lisa Mariotti of Juneau, and Bridget Lujan of Juneau. And our scorekeepers are Nancy DeChierney and Karen Crane, also of Juneau. Now, before we get to the poetry, it is very important tonight that I go over the rules because this is a competition. So, only currently enrolled high school students in grades 9 through 12 are eligible, with an exception made for 8th grade students participating in a 9th through 12th grade class. Competitors must be U.S. citizens or permanent residents to be eligible to compete at the National Poetry Out Loud competition. A student may not advance to the state finals without competing a lower level competition. Schools or regions must hold a competition of at least 2 students to select their champion. If that student is unable to attend the next level of competition, a runner-up is sent. Students must be judged according to the Poetry Out Loud evaluation criteria from the 2016-2017 Teacher's Guide. State and national finals consist of 3 rounds of competition. Competitions at lower levels may have fewer rounds, but students must recite only 1 poem in each round. The order in which the poems are recited is up to the student. Rankings are based solely on evaluation sheets submitted by the judges. Judges should not convene to discuss performances during the competition, and judges may not reconsider their scores after they're submitted. Scoring is cumulative. The scores from all rounds should be added together to determine the winner. In the event of a tied student with the highest overall performance score should win. If that also results in a tie, look to the highest accuracy score. Students may not use props or wear costumes during their recitations, and all poems must be selected from the Poetry Out Loud print or online anthology, which is found at poetryoutloud.org. Now, there is one very important rule for the audience, and that's to have fun tonight. And if you want to share the fun that you're having, share on social media and shout out to all the students and Poetry Out Loud through our very own hashtag AlaskaPOL, and post it to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter so everyone can follow along. Okay, we're ready to begin round 1. Madeline Andreessen is part of the Haynes School since kindergarten and is invested in the Haynes community. She has written her own poems and recently became involved in the Poetry Out Loud program through her high school English class. She thinks the program is a great way to be involved in poetry without having to be good at writing. Madeline enjoys singing, reading, and swimming and plans to attend college next year at either University of Alaska Fairbanks or Western Washington for vocal performance or archaeology. We want to recognize the Haines School Poetry Out Loud liaison, Alex Van Wy, and Madeline's mother, Lisa Andreessen, who is with us in Juneau to support Madeline. Thank you to all the folks in Haines who make Poetry Out Loud possible, and to Madeline's friends, family, and teachers back home. Please give a warm welcome to Madeline Andreessen.
Snowflake by William Baer. Timing's everything. The vapor rises high in the sky, tossing to and fro, then freezes suddenly and crystallizes into a perfect flake of miraculous snow. For countless miles, drifting east above the world, whirling about in a swirling free-for-all, appearing aimless, just like love, but sensing, seeking out its destiny. Falling to where the two young skaters stand, hand in hand, then flips and dips and whips itself about to ever so gently land. A miracle across her unkissed lips as he blocks the wind raging from the south, leaning forward to kiss her lovely mouth.
We do have one competitor who is not here with us tonight. She got stuck in Elam. She's from the Annaguin School. Amanda Davison, if you're watching, we're thinking of you. Our next competitor, Elisa Koyak, is currently a senior at Juneau Douglas High School. This is her first year doing Poetry Out Loud, and she is really enjoying it. Elisa has played soccer for 10 years and intends to play for JDHS girls team this spring. She currently has an internship with AWARE and the Juneau Violence Prevention Coalition. She is also involved with student groups at the high school, such as Sources of Strength and Ignite, inspiring girls now in technology and engineering. Elisa tells us that my favorite subjects in school so far are chemistry and Japanese, and I would like to continue studying them. I want to be a medical examiner someday. We want to recognize Jenny Rader, who is the Poetry Out Loud liaison for Juneau Douglas High School. And her parents, Heather Koyak and Lane Taylor, are here tonight. We also want to thank Elisa's friends, family, and teachers for their support. Please give it up for Elisa Koyak.
Sweetness by Stephen Dunn. Just when it has seemed I couldn't bear one more friend waking with a tumor, one more maniac with a perfect reason. Often a sweetness has come and changed nothing in the world except the way I stumbled through it. For while lost in the ignorance of loving someone or something, the world shrunk to mouth size, hand size, and never seeming small. I acknowledge there is no sweetness that doesn't leave a stain, no sweetness that's ever sufficiently sweet. Tonight, a friend called to say his lover was killed in a car he was driving. His voice was low and guttural. He repeated what he needed to repeat, and I repeated the one or two words we have for such grief, until we were speaking only in tones. Often a sweetness comes as if on loan, stays just long enough to make sense of what it means to be alive, then returns to its dark source. As for me, I don't care where it's been or what bitter road it's traveled to come so far, to taste so good.
Elisa Larson is in her junior year at Petersburg High School, and she has been involved in many extracurricular activities. She has taken the basic core classes as well as honors and AP English classes. Last year, Elisa did a semester abroad in Spain and took a much larger range of classes than offered at her school. She took religion, ethics, European social studies, and a Spanish language and literature class. This is Elisa's second year doing Poetry Out Loud. Her freshman year, she got 3rd place in her school, and because she was not in the US for the first semester of last year, she did not participate in the competition. Elisa tells us, "This year, I have really enjoyed the challenges that this poetry competition has presented me. I have learned how to recite in different tones and meanings, which has taught me how to deliver a variety of poems." Elisa plays many extracurricular sports, including volleyball, dance, and track and field. She plans to attend college after high school, preferably somewhere with a good political science program, because that is what she would like to major in. We want to recognize Carissa Cotta, who is the Poetry Out Loud liaison for Petersburg High School, as well as Rocio Tejera, Elisa's mother, who is with us in Juneau to support Elisa. Thank you to all the folks in Petersburg who might be watching, including Elisa's friends, family, and teachers. Please give a warm welcome to Elisa Larson.
Cartoon Physics Part 1 by Nick Flynn. Children under, say, 10 shouldn't know that the universe is ever expanding, inexorably pushing into the vacuum galaxies, swallowed by galaxies, whole solar systems collapsing, all of it acted out in silence. At 10, we are still learning the rules of cartoon animation, that if a man draws a door on a rock, only he can pass through it. Anyone else who tries will crash into the rock. 10-year-olds should stick with burning houses, car wrecks, ships going down, earthbound, tangible disasters, arenas where they can be heroes. You can run back into a burning house. Sinking ships have lifeboats. The trucks will come with their ladders. If you jump, you will be saved. A child places her hand on the roof of a school bus and drives across a city of sand. She knows the exact spot it will skid, at which point the bridge will give, who will swim to safety, and who will be pulled under by sharks. She will learn that if a man runs off the edge of a cliff, he will not fall until he notices his mistake. Thank you.
Mariah Lawrenson is a junior at 10 Alien High School in Port Alsworth. This is Mariah's second year participating in Poetry Out Loud. Poetry Out Loud was a new and exciting experience for Mariah, and she is grateful for the opportunity to learn about poems and the differences of art forms. Mariah has not had extensive experience with poetry, but in her short time in dabbling with it, she has begun to appreciate the beauty and expression in it. Her passion is in music and songwriting, and she plans to attend college after graduation to pursue child counseling and clinical psychology. We want to recognize Nicole Metzger, Poetry Out Loud liaison for 10 Alien School, as well as Darcy Lawrenson, Mariah's parent, who is with us tonight. A shout out to all the folks in Port Alsworth who might be watching, including Mariah's friends, family, and teachers. Give it up for Mariah Lawrenson.
Personal by Tony Hoagland. Don't take it personal, they said. But I did. I took it all quite personal. The breeze and the river and the color of the fields, the the price of grapefruit and stamps, the wet hair of women in the rain. And I cursed what hurt me, and I praised what gave me joy. The most simple-minded of possible responses. The government reminded me of my father, with its deafness and its laws, and the weather reminded me of my mom, with her tropical squalls. Enjoy it while you can, they said of happiness. Think first, they said of talk. Get over it, they said at the school of broken hearts. But I couldn't, and I didn't. And I don't believe in the clean break. I believe in the compound fracture served with a sauce of dirty regret. I believe in saying it all and taking it back and saying it again for good measure while the air fills with I'm sorries. Like wheeling birds and the trees look seasick in the wind. Oh, life! Can you blame me for making a scene? You were that yellow caboose, the moon disappearing over the ridge of a cloud. I was the dog chained in some fool's backyard, barking and barking, trying to convince everything else to take it personal too.
Sarah Price is a student at North Pole High School. She is very involved in the school's club and organizations, such as the Student Council, Spanish Club, and the Language Arts Club. Sarah was first exposed to poetry out loud during her freshman year. At first, it was just like any other assignment, but she realized how much she enjoyed recitation. Sarah had to analyze poems and their meanings, identify specific words to exaggerate, and find ways to portray what the poems meant to her. The process helped heighten her appreciation for poetry. Poetry out loud has helped Sarah improve her public speaking skills. She didn't compete in the school competition for poetry out loud until her sophomore year. She started with the class assignment, but eventually won the school and regional competitions. Sarah plans to apply to the Air Force Academy to major in chemistry or biochemistry. In the future, she wants to become a doctor in the Air Force. We want to recognize Elizabeth Alexander, the Poetry Out Loud liaison for North Pole High School, as well as North Pole High School teacher Brendy Hollett, who is here with us in Juneau. Thanks to all Sarah's friends, family, and teachers who might be watching in North Pole for supporting Sarah and Poetry Out Loud. Now, put your hands together for Sarah Price.
Broadcast rights for this poem have not been granted for this event.
Ashlyn Rood is a sophomore at Glen Allen High School. While she has been intrigued by the art of poetry for some time, Ashlyn was first introduced to poetry out loud last year. Until then, her interest was primarily in writing her own poetry and riddles. Ashlyn loved last year's competition and is excited to participate for the second time in Alaska's state Poetry Out Loud competition. Ashlyn's enjoyment of riddles and wordplay, paired with her hopeful and positive outlook, is reflected in the poetry she is drawn to. Her other interests include art, writing, reading, working with children, and taking care of animals. After high school, Ashlyn hopes to study cinematic storytelling and animation. We want to recognize Tim Shumway, Poetry Out Loud Liaison for Glen Allen School, as well as Kenny Lake School in Copper River School District. We also want to recognize Misty Rood, Ashlyn's mother, who is here with us in Juneau. Thank you to all the folks in Copper River School District who might be watching, including Ashlyn's family, friends, and teachers. Please give a warm welcome to Ashlyn Rood.
Aria by David Barber. What if it were possible to vanquish all this shame with a wash of varnish instead of wishing the stain would vanish? What if you gave it a glossy finish? What if there were a way to burnish all this foolishness, all the anguish? What if you gave yourself leave to ravish all these ravages with famished relish? What if this were your way to flourish? What if the self you love to punish, knavish, peevish, wolfish, sheepish, were all slicked up in something lavish? Why so squeamish? Why make a fetish out of everything you must relinquish? Why not embellish what you can't abolish? What would be left if you couldn't brandish all the slavishness you fail to banish? What would you be without this gibberish? What if the true worth of the varnish were to replenish your resolve to vanquish every vain wish before you vanish?
Born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, Juan Sarmiento moved to the U.S. in 2013 and has been attending Homer High School ever since. He placed third place in the Alaska State Poetry Out Loud competition in his freshman year. And Juan told us, "I'm very happy to compete once again before I graduate." Juan enjoys running, training, messing around on guitars, and long arguments that go nowhere. This upcoming fall, he will be attending college on the East Coast. Juan is still not sure about his major, but whatever. We want to recognize the Poetry Out Loud liaison in Homer High School, Suzanne Bishop. We also want to shout out to folks in Homer who might be watching, including Juan's friends, family, and teachers. Put your hands together for Juan Sarmiento.
Every Single Day by John Straley, after Raymond Carver's Hummingbird. Suppose I set the word springtime, and I wrote the words King Salmon on a piece of paper and mailed it to you. When you opened it, would you remember that afternoon we spent together in the yellow boat, when the early whales were feeding and we caught our first fish of the year? Or would you remember that time off Cape Flattery, when you were a little girl, your father smoking, telling stories as he ran the boat? Then the tug and zing of that very first fish spooling off into the gray-green world, you laughing and brushing back your hair before setting the hook. I know I am hard to understand sometimes, particularly when you're standing at the post office with only a piece of paper saying King Salmon on it. But just think of it as a promissory note. And that electric tug, that thrill pulling your mind into deep water is how I feel about you. Every single day.
Jania Toomey is a junior at West Anchorage High School and has participated in Poetry Out Loud since her freshman year, although never at the state level. Through Poetry Out Loud, Jania has gained a greater understanding and appreciation for the art of poetry and developing her own writing skills. Jania's favorite subjects in school are art and biology. She loves competing on the West High School cross-country running and ski teams, as well as participating in clubs such as the Partners Club. Outside of school, Jania enjoys everything outdoors, whether it be hiking, skiing, or just adventuring in general. After high school, Jania plans to attend college and travel the world. She especially wants to tour Europe and Southeast Asia and spend time in New Zealand. For now, though, she is excited to travel around Alaska and grateful for the opportunity to visit Juneau. We want to recognize Rachel Kitto, the Poetry Out Loud liaison for West Anchorage High School, as well as Yerith Rosen, Jania's mother, who is with us in Juneau. Thank you to all the folks in Anchorage who might be watching, including Jania's friends, family, and teachers for supporting the Poetry Out Loud program. Give it up for Jania Toomey.
La figlia che piange by T.S. Eliot. O quam te memorim, Virgo. Stand on the highest pavement of the stair. Lean on a garden urn. Weave the sunlight in your hair. Clasp your flowers to you with a pained surprise. Fling them to the ground and turn with a fugitive resentment in your eyes. But weave the sunlight in your hair. So I would have had him leave. So I would have had her stand and grieve. So he would have left as the soul leaves the body torn and bruised, as the mind deserts the body it has used. I should find some way incomparably light and deft, some way we both should understand. Simple and faithless as a smile and shake of the hand. She turned away, but with the autumn weather compelled my imagination many days and many hours, her hair over her arms and her arms full of flowers. And I wonder how they should have been together. I should have lost a gesture and a pose. Sometimes these cogitations still amaze the troubled midnight and the noon's repose.
Isabella Weiss is a 9th grader from Colony High School in Palmer, Alaska. This is her first year participating in Poetry Out Loud, although she has a long history of performing in community theater and school speech and debate competitions. She finds reciting poetry especially fun because it affords her the opportunity to experience the beat and rhythm of words mixed with expressing emotions. Her other interests include competitive gymnastics, travel, hanging out with her sister, and student government activities. Isabella loves working with children and is interested in pursuing a career in teaching or pediatric medicine. We want to recognize Trevor Townsend, Poetry Out Loud liaison for Colony High School, as well as Jeffrey Weiss, Isabella's father, who is with us in Juneau. Hello to all the folks in Palmer and Wasilla who might be watching, and thanks to Isabella's friends, family, and teachers for supporting the program. Please give a warm welcome to Isabella Weiss.
Cartoon Physics, Part 1 by Nick Flynn. Children under, say, 10 shouldn't know that the universe is ever expanding, inexorably pushing into the vacuum. Galaxies swallowed by galaxies, whole solar systems collapsing. All of it acted out in silence. At 10, we are still learning the rules of cartoon animation, that if a man draws a door on a rock, only he can pass through it. Anyone else who tries will crash into the rock. 10-year-olds should stick with burning houses, car wrecks, ships going down, earthbound, tangible disasters, arenas where they can be heroes. You can run back into a burning house. Sinking ships have lifeboats. The trucks will come with their ladders. If you jump, you will be saved. A child places her hand on the roof of a school bus and drives across a city of sand. She knows the exact spot it will skid, at which point the bridge will give, who will swim to safety, and who will be pulled under by sharks. She will learn that if a man runs off the edge of a cliff, he will not fall until he notices his mistake.
Woo! We are done with round one. How about another round of applause for all of our contestants? That was incredible. As we venture into round two, I do have to say I am very impressed with all of you. That is so inspiring. I can barely read from a script, so that was very incredible. Another round of applause for round one. Now, before we move into round two, it is important to note that though we have recognized the 10 Poetry Out Loud liaisons whose students are finalists here tonight, there are almost 40 Poetry Out Loud liaisons who make it possible for their schools to participate in Poetry Out Loud this year. We are grateful for their coordination and to the dozens of teachers, librarians, administrators, and other school staff and community members who bring this program into their schools each year. In 2016-2017, more than 3,700 Alaskan high school students participated in Alaska Poetry Out Loud with the support of their educators. That's pretty amazing. Okay, time for round two. Now, before we venture into every participant in round two, I'm going to introduce our judges and discuss a few more of the basic rules of the competition. So, our first judge that I would like to introduce is Julie LeMay. Julie was born in Buffalo, New York, and has moved to Alaska's Matanuska Valley, where she has lived since 1978. She currently resides in Palmer, Alaska. LeMay has taught poetry at mindfulness retreats and at workshops at McLaughlin Youth Facility, the Salvation Army Clitheroe Inpatient Facility, North Star Residential Treatment Center, and the University of Alaska Mat-Su. LeMay holds an MFA in creative writing from Antioch University, Los Angeles, where she served as poetry editor for Antioch's journal Lunch Ticket. LeMay's work has been published online and in print journals including Potomac Review, Passenger, Blue Stem, Cirque, Lummox, Pilgrimage, Split Rock Review, Riding Light, and Sugar Mule. She is the author of the poetry collection The Echo of Ice Letting Go, published by the University of Alaska Press. The second of our judging staff we will introduce is Jeremy Pataki. Jeremy Pataki is a poet and writer whose work has appeared in journals including the Colorado Review, Black Warrior Review, the Southeast Review, Cirque, Camus, Ice Flow, Anchorage Press, and some anthologies. His first book of poetry, Overwinter, was published by the University of Alaska Press in the Alaska Literary Series in 2015. Jeremy earned an MFA at the University of Montana and a BA at Western Washington University. He is a founding former board member and executive director of 49 Writers, a literary nonprofit in Alaska, and coordinator of the Rasmussen Foundation Artist Residency Program. He splits his time between Anchorage and McCarthy, Alaska. So welcome, judges. Now for our first participant in round 2, please welcome once again from Haynes High School, Madeline Andreessen.
Hope is a Thing with Feathers, 314, by Emily Dickinson. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me.
Emily Wall is the third judge I'd like to introduce. Emily is a poet and associate professor of English at the University of Alaska Southeast. She has been teaching creative writing workshops at the university and in the community for 20 years. She holds an MFA in poetry from the University of Arizona. Her poems have been published in a wide variety of literary journals in the US and Canada, most recently in Prairie Schooner and Alaska Quarterly Review. In 2013, she won a statewide contest, and a poem of hers was placed in Totem Bight State Park in Ketchikan, Alaska. Her second book of poems, Live Aboard, was published in February of 2012. Her first book, Freshly Rooted, came out in 2007. She is currently finishing up a manuscript of poems about birth. She can be found online at emily-wall.com. Our fourth and final evaluation judge this evening is Lisa Mariotti. Lisa is an attorney in Juneau, Alaska, and has great appreciation for all expressions of the written word and is thrilled to be a part of this year's Poetry Out Loud. Those are the last two judges. And now, once again, from Juneau Douglas High School, here is Alyssa Koyak.
To Myself by Franz Wright. You are riding the bus again, burrowing into the blackness of Interstate 80, the sole passenger, with an overhead light on. And I am with you. I'm the interminable fields you can't see, the little lights off in the distance. In one of those rooms we are living. And I am the rain, and the others all around you, and the loneliness you love, and the universe that loves you specifically, maybe. And the catastrophic dawn, the nicotine crawling on your skin, and when you begin to cough, I won't cover my face. And if you vomit this time, I will hold you. Everything's going to be fine, I will whisper. It won't always be like this. I'm going to buy you a sandwich.
Over the course of the next few recitations, I'll share with you the criteria that our judges use to evaluate the student finalists' work. All Poetry Out Loud recitations are evaluated using the same criteria, from the earliest classroom level competition to the national recitation competition in Washington, D.C. So the first criteria is about physical presence. According to the Poetry Out Loud website, this is about eye contact, body language, and poise. Qualities of a strong recitation include ease and comfort with the audience, engagement with the audience through physical presence, including appropriate body language, confidence, and eye contact without appearing artificial. So back to the competition. I would like to welcome, once again, from Petersburg High School, Elisa Larson.
El Olvido by Judith Ortiz Kofer. It is a dangerous thing to forget the climate of your birthplace, to choke out the voices of dead relatives when in dreams they call you by your secret name. It is dangerous to spurn the clothes you were born to wear for the sake of fashion. Dangerous to use weapons and sharp instruments you are not familiar with. Dangerous to disdain the plaster saints before which your mother kneels, praying with embarrassing fervor that you survive in the place you have chosen to live. A bare, cold room with no pictures on the walls, a forgetting place, where she believes you will die of loneliness and exposure. Jesus, Maria y José, she says. El olvido is a dangerous thing. Thank you.
I want to remind everyone that we are not in a CPR class. I'm sorry, I was saying recitations. That's a different day. But you can all come back for that. That's CPR out loud. That's tomorrow. So these are recitations that we'll be watching tonight. I want to introduce our accuracy judge. Our accuracy judge is Bridget Lujan. She is returning to the Poetry Out Loud judging panel. And Bridget takes accuracy very seriously and, in fact, has made a career of striving for it on a daily basis. She is a CPA licensed in Alaska and works at a local firm, R. Daniel McLeod, CPA, specializing in tax and consulting work for businesses and individuals. She enjoys participating in Poetry Out Loud because it gives her the opportunity to combine her accounting brain with her arts brain. Bridget has a BFA in theater from Niagara University, New York, and she is a former trustee and treasurer of the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council. She is the current treasurer for Juneau Dance Theater and is the incoming president of the Rotary Club of Juneau. Bridget has lived in Juneau since 1995, and she and her husband Jess have 2 children. Thunder Mountain High School junior Christopher and FDMS 8th grader Megan. She commends and congratulates all the finalists and wishes them luck. She says, have fun out there, but I think that's pretty clear. And I'll talk a little bit about accuracy before the next participant. And now back to the competition. Here she is once again from Tanalian School in Port Ellsworth, Mariah Lawrenson.
Dear Reader by Rita Mae Reese. You have forgotten it all. You have forgotten your name, where you lived, who you loved, why. I am simply your nurse, terse and unlovely. I point to things and remind you what they are. Chair, book, daughter, soup. And when we are alone, I tell you what lies in each direction. This way is death, and this way, after a longer walk, is death. And that way is death, but you won't see it until it is right in front of you. Once, after your niece had been to visit, and I said something about how you must love her, or she must love you, or something useless like that, You gripped my forearm in a terrible, swift hand and said, "She is everything." You gave me a shake. Everything to me. And then you fell back into the well, deep into the well of everything. And I stand at the edge and call, chair, book, daughter, soup.
Now, since we introduced Bridget Lujan, our accuracy judge, in the last break, I'll tell you a little bit about what the accuracy judge has to consider. Accuracy is the first element of recitation. The most basic task for the student is to keep the poet's language intact for the audience. Given that accuracy is the foundation of a good recitation, serving as an accuracy judge is a critical component of the evaluation process. It is the job of the accuracy judge to mark missed or incorrect words, and if the contestant relies on the prompter, points also will be subtracted from the accuracy score from each judge. 8 points will be added to each judge's contest evaluation sheet for a perfectly accurate recitation. Now, back to the participants. Once again, please welcome to the stage from North Pole High School, Sarah Price.
Holy Sonnets, Death Be Not Proud by John Donne. Death, be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so. For those whom thou thinkest thou dost overthrow, die not, poor death. Nor yet canst thou kill me. From rest and sleep, which but thy pictures be, much pleasure. Then from thee much more must flow, and soonest our best men with thee do go, rest of their bones and souls' delivery. Thou art slave to fate, chance, kings, and desperate men, and dost with poison, war, and sickness dwell. And poppy or charms can make us sleep as well, and better than thy stroke. Why swellest thou then? One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die. Thank you.
So next up in our list of evaluation criteria is voice and articulation. This refers to volume, pace, rhythm, intonation, and proper pronunciation. Keep in mind that at some levels of competition, a microphone may be used. The qualities of a strong recitation as relates to voice and articulation include all words are pronounced correctly, and the volume, rhythm, and intonation greatly enhance the recitation. Pacing is appropriate to the poem. Tips for students on meeting the voice and articulation criteria focus on vocal projection, how to pace the recitation appropriately to the poem, caution about rhyming, articulation, and attending to the meaning of line breaks. Line breaks are a defining feature of poetry. Students are asked to consider in their reading of the poem whether a line break requires a pause, and if so, how long? So now back to the competition. Please give another warm welcome back to the stage from Glen Allen School, Ashlyn Rood.
Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome rats outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the frumious Bandersnatch. He took his Vorpal's sword in hand, long time the manxome foe he sought. So rested he by a tumtum tree, and stood a while, and thought. And, as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tulgey wood and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the Vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with his head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy, O Frabjestay, Callooh, Callay! He chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wave. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths outgrave.
The third criteria upon which poetry out loud recitations are evaluated is called dramatic appropriateness. The Poetry Out Loud website says, recitation is about conveying a poem's sense with its language. It is closer to the art of oral interpretation than theatrical performance. Think storyteller or narrator rather than actor. A strong performance will rely on a powerful internalization of the poem rather than a distracting dramatic gesture. You represent the poem's voice, not a character's. You must subtly enhance the understanding and enjoyment of the poem without overshadowing the language. Tips for dramatic appropriateness focus on avoiding movement and gestures that is too much or that distracts, and on balance between too much and too little tonal emphasis or intensity of the voice. Qualities of a strong recitation in view of the dramatic appropriateness criteria includes the dramatization subtly underscores the meaning of a poem without becoming the focal point. Whew. So now back to the competition. Please put your hands together once again from Homer High School, Juan Sarmiento.
La figlia che piange by T.S. Eliot. O quam te memorem, Virgo? Stand on the highest pavement of the stair, lean on a garden urn, weave the sunlight in your hair, clasp your flowers to you with a pained surprise, fling them to the ground and turn with a fugitive resentment in your eyes, but weave the sunlight in your hair. So I would have had him leave. So I would have had her stand and grieve, so he would have left as the soul leaves the body, torn and bruised, as the mind deserts the body it has used. I should find some way, incomparably light and deft, some way we both should understand, simple and faithless as a smile and shake of the hand. She turned away. But with the autumn weather compelled my imagination many days and many hours, her hair over her arms and her arms full of flowers, and I wonder how they should have been together. I should have lost a gesture and a pose. Sometimes these cogitations still amaze the troubled midnight and the noon's repose.
Evidence of understanding is the fourth individual criteria the judges must consider in their evaluation of a poetry out loud recitation. This category is to evaluate the student's comprehension and mastery of the poem. The poet's words should take precedents and should be voiced in a way that helps the audience to understand the poet and poem better. To do this, the student must effectively use intonation, emphasis, tone, and style of delivery. Tips for students include: you must understand the poem fully. Be attentive to the messages, meanings, allusions, irony, tones of voice, and other nuances in your poem. And be sure you know the meaning of every word in line in your poem. Qualities of a strong recitation as defined by the Poetry Out Loud website include: the meaning of the poem is powerfully and clearly conveyed to the audience. The interpretation deepens and enlivens the poem, meaning themes, allusions, irony, tones of voice, and other nuances are captured by the performance. So with that, back to the competition. Once again, please welcome to the stage, from West Anchorage High School, Janya Toomey.
Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its maker well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away.
The final criteria that Poetry Out Loud evaluation judges must consider is overall performance. This category is to evaluate the degree in which the recitation has become more than the sum of its parts. Judges are encouraged to consider these questions. Did you captivate the audience with the language of the poem? Did you bring the audience to a better understanding of the poem? Did your physical presence, voice, and articulation and dramatic appropriateness all seem on target and unified to breathe life into the poem? And did you understand and show mastery of the art of recitation? Now finally, in wrapping up the information about how these recitations are considered, the state and national Poetry Out Loud competitions require that students select 3 poems from the Poetry Out Loud anthology and commit these poems to memory. Now, while the poems must be committed to memory, during Poetry Out Loud, students are permitted to utilize a prompter during recitation. This is someone who will have a notebook with each poem, whom students can look to if they forget a word or line. Tonight, our prompter is Lisa Forbes from the Alaska State Council on the Arts. Now, our final participant in round 2 is ready to go, I see, and she is from Colony High School in Wasilla. Here she is again, Isabella Weiss.
Requests for Toy Piano by Tony Hoagland. Play the one about the family of the ducks, where the ducks go down to the river, and one of them thinks the water will be cold, but then they jump in anyway, and like it and splash around. No. I must play the one about the nervous man from Palestine in row 14, with a brown bag in his lap in which a gun is hidden in a sandwich. Play the one about the handsome man and woman standing on the steps of her apartment, and how the darkness and her perfume and the beating of their hearts conjoin to make them feel like leaping from the edge of chance. No. I should play the one about the hard rectangle of the credit card hidden in the man's back pocket, and how the woman spent an hour plucking out her brows, and how her perfume was made from the destruction of 100 flowers. Then play the one about the flower industry, in which the migrant workers curse their own infected hands from tossing sheaves of roses and carnations into the back of the refrigerated trucks. No. I must play the one about the single yellow daffodil standing on my kitchen table, whose cut stem draws the water upwards, so the plant is flushed with the conviction that the water has been sent to find and raise it up from somewhere so deep inside the earth, not even flowers can remember.
That is the end of round 2. How about another big round of applause for all of the participants? That's incredible. I'm so inspired by all of you. Public speaking is crazy hard, obviously, recitation. So that was incredible. I'm really moved by all of you. So now it is time for the judges to deliberate to determine our finalists. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll see everyone in 10 minutes. Welcome back to Poetry Out Loud, everybody. Now, before we start round 3 and announcing our finalists, I want to welcome Representative Sam Keto of Juneau to the stage.
Thank you. Well, it's great to be here. Actually, really enjoying all of the poems, and it reminds me of when I was growing up, and I used to write a little poetry, and I'm hoping nobody finds that. So what I would like to do is invite Ernestine Hayes to come up to the stage, and then any other legislators here, Senator Hughes, if you want to come up, Senator Coghill, if you want to come up. We have a legislative citation for Ernestine, and it's our recognition from the legislature of the work that she's done in the arts over many years. So this citation really started out from my participation in the Governor's Award for the Arts, where Ernestine was identified as the Writer Laureate for 2017 and 2018, and we'll be spending the next 2 years working around the state, encouraging writers to better their craft. In addition to that, she's also a renowned author, and there's a lot of information here historically about Ernestine, so if you do want to know what's in the citation, you're going to have to talk with her individually. But what we as the 30th Alaska Legislature would like to do is present Ernestine with this citation, recognition of all of her accomplishments for the state of Alaska. So thank you, Ernestine.
Thank you. Cheese, thank you very much, Alaska State Council, for the Arts Representative Keto and the legislative representatives. Cheese, it's such an honor to be here and watch these brilliant scholars share their art. And I want to acknowledge how wonderful they are, and they're inspiring me. And last of all, I'd like to acknowledge the Occoquan people upon whose land we stand. Gunal Cheese, Gunal Cheese.
Thank you. So before I announce the finalists for tonight, I want to personally say how incredible all of you are, and I'm very impressed with all of you, and I'm moved, and it makes me want to go even just read some poetry. So I'm going to announce the finalists, and then they are going to perform their third poem in the order that I read their names. So our 3 finalists tonight are from Petersburg High School, Elisa Larson. From West Anchorage High School, Janya Toomey. And from Colony High School, Isabella Weiss. So the first finalist will read her poem, and our first finalist is from Petersburg High School, Elisa Larson.
Love's Philosophy by Percy Bysshe Shelley. The fountains mingle with the river, and the rivers with the ocean. The winds of heaven mix forever with a sweet emotion. Nothing in the world is single, all things by a law divine. In one spirit meet and mingle, why not I with thine? See the mountains kiss high heaven, and the waves clasp one another. No sister flower would be forgiven if it disdained its brother. And the sunlight clasps the earth, and the moonbeams kiss the sea. What is all this sweet work worth if thou kiss not me? Thank you.
So before we invite our next finalist to the stage, I want to tell you a little bit about the Poetry Out Loud program. It uses a pyramid structure that starts at the classroom level, and winners advance to a school-wide competition, then to a regional or state competition, and ultimately the national finals. In Alaska, there are 4 regions with enough population to hold in-person regional competitions: the Anchorage School District, the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District, the Matsu Borough School District, and Juneau School District. For rural communities across the state, there is a video adjudication process whereby students from each region send videos of their school representatives to a panel of judges in Juneau. And what's exciting about that is unique to Juneau, as you can imagine how our rural communities are out there. Now, what happens after the Alaska State Poetry Out Loud competition? The Alaska State champion will go on to compete at the National Poetry Out Loud Finals in Washington, D.C., April 24th through the 27th. If for any reason the regional or state champion is unable to attend the next level of competition, the runner-up will be called upon to compete. Now, for our next finalist, please welcome from West Anchorage High School, Janya Toomey.
Dear Reader, by Rita Mae Reese. You have forgotten it all. You have forgotten your name, where you lived, who you loved, why. I am simply your nurse, terse and unlovely. I point to things and remind you what they are. Chair, book, daughter, soup. And when we are alone, I tell you what lies in each direction. This way is death, and this way, after a longer walk, is death. And that way is death, but you won't see it until it is right in front of you. Once, after your niece had been to visit you, and I said something about how you must love her, or she must love you, or something useless like that, you gripped my forearm in your terrible swift hand and said, "She is everything." You gave me a shake, everything to me. And then you fell back into the well, deep in the well of everything. And I stand at the edge and call, chair, book, daughter, soup.
Poetry Out Loud is a partnership between the National Endowment for the Arts, the Poetry Foundation, and the state arts agencies. In Alaska, the state arts agency is the Alaska State Council on the Arts, and it partners with schools, school districts, public libraries, and local arts councils. The Juneau Arts and Humanities Council is a major partner in making it possible for us to hold the Alaska State competition here in Juneau. So a big round of applause for the Alaska State Council, Juneau Arts and Humanities Council. Now, before I invite our last finalist to the stage, I want to say that each winner at the state level receives $200 and an all-expense-paid trip with an adult chaperone to Washington, D.C. to compete for the national championship. The state's winner's school receives a $500 stipend for the purchase of poetry books, and the first runner-up in each state receives $100 with $200 for his or her school library. A total of $1,000 in awards and school stipends is awarded annually at the national finals. Now for our last finalist, please welcome from Colony High School in Palmer, Isabella Weiss.
Hope is the Thing with Feathers, 314 by Emily Dickinson. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me.
Thank you. Another round of applause for our 3 finalists. That was incredible. Good luck. Now our judges are going to deliberate, and in a few minutes they'll come back to announce the winners. But in the meantime, all of our participants have prepared a third poem. And I don't know about you, but I would love to hear that third poem. And they're not required to recite it if they don't want to. I hope that you will. So Madeline, would you like to? Okay, Madeline Andreessen.
Famous by Naomi Shihab Nye. The river is famous to the fish. The loud voice is famous to silence, which knew it would inherit the earth before anybody said so. The cat sleeping on the fence is famous to the birds watching him from the birdhouse. The tear is famous, briefly, to the cheek. The idea you carry close to your bosom is famous to your bosom. The boot is famous to the earth, more famous than the dress shoe, which is famous only to floors. The bent photograph is famous to the one who carries it, and not at all famous to the one who is pictured. I want to be famous to shuffling men who smile while crossing streets, sticky children in grocery lines, famous as the one who smiled back. I want to be famous in the way a pulley is famous, or a buttonhole, not because it did anything spectacular, but because it never forgot what it could do.
Thank you, Madeline. Alyssa, you want to? Great. Please welcome Alyssa Koyat.
Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Thank you, Alyssa. Mariah, you want to? Yay, good. Please welcome Mariah Lawrenson.
Ode by Arthur O'Shaughnessy. We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams, wandering by lone sea breakers and sitting by desolate streams, world losers and world forsakers, on whom the pale moon gleams. Yet we are the movers and the shakers of the world forever, it seems. With wonderful deathless ditties, we build up the world's great cities, and out of a fabulous story, fashion an empire's glory. One man, with a dream at pleasure, shall go forth and conquer a crown, and three, with a new song's measure, can trample an empire down. We, in the ages lying, in the buried past of the earth, built Nineveh with our sign, and Babel itself with our mirth, and o'erthrew 'em with prophesying to the old of the new world's worth. For each age is a dream that is dying, or one that is coming to birth.
Sarah, you want it? Great. Sarah Price, everyone.
Dear Reader, by Rita Mae Reese. You have forgotten it all. You've forgotten your name, where you lived, who you loved, why. I am simply your nurse, terse and unlovely. I point to things and remind you what they are. Chair, book, daughter, soup. And when we are alone, I tell you what lies in each direction. This way is death. And this way, after a longer walk, is death. And that way is death, but you won't see it until it is right in front of you. Once, after your niece had been to visit you, and I said something about how you must love her, or she must love you, or something useless like that, you gripped my forearm in your terrible swift hand and said, "She is everything." You gave me a shake. Everything to me. And then you fell back into the well, deep in the well of everything. And I stand at the edge and call, chair, book, daughter, soup.
That was amazing. It took me a second to figure out that they were the same poem. I think that's the beauty of poetry and interpretation. I have my favorite plays that I love seeing over and over, and they're different every time. So that was incredible. Ashlyn? Yay. Okay, everyone, Ashlyn Rood.
The Tiger by William Blake. Tiger, tiger burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? To what distant deeps or skies burned the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain, in what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dread grasp dare its deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Tiger, tiger burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry?
Before I invite Juan up, I'm guessing he wants to come up? Okay, well, just 1 second. Wait 1 moment. I'm going to just acknowledge that the Alaska State Poetry Out Loud competition has been a live webcast by 360 North. The webcast has an interactive social media component, and supporters from across the state celebrated their regional representatives during the state competition. Now, as you all know, if you ever want to share with social media, please use the hashtag AlaskaPOL. So, Juan says he's in. So everybody, Juan Sarmiento.
Novel by Arthur Rimbaud. We aren't serious when we're 17. One fine evening, to hell with beer and lemonade and noisy cafes with their shining lamps, we walk under the green linden trees of the park. The lindens smell good in the good June evenings. At times, the air is so scented that we close our eyes, the wind laden with sounds. The town isn't far, has the smell of grapevines and beer. There, you can see a very small patch of dark blue, framed by a little branch, pinned up by a naughty star that melts in gentle quivers, small and very white. Night in June. 17 years old. We are overcome by it all. The sap is champagne and goes to our heads. We talked a lot and feel a kiss on our lips, trembling there like a small insect. Our wild heart moves through novels like Robinson Crusoe when, in the light of a pale street lamp, a girl goes by, attractive and charming, under the shadow of her father's terrible collar. And as she finds you incredibly naive, while clicking her little boots, she turns abruptly and in a lively manner. Then cavatinas die on your lips. You're in love, occupied until the month of August. You are in love. Your sonnets make her laugh. All your friends go off. You are ridiculous. Then, one evening, the girl you worship deigned it to write to you. That evening, you returned to the bright cafes. You asked for beer or lemonade. We aren't serious when we are 17, and when we have green linden trees in the park.
Thank you, everyone. I'm so happy that I got to hear all of your poems. That was amazing and inspiring. And doesn't it feel good when you just have nothing to lose? So now we want to invite everyone onto the stage. Not everyone. But I will announce them by name. And they have a certificate that they'll be presented with. And so they can also get their picture taken. And come on up. Come on up, everyone. Our 2017 Poetry Out Loud participants here in the state. That's amazing. Good job, you guys. So first, Madeline Andreessen of Haines. From Juneau Douglas High School, Alyssa Koyak. From Petersburg High School, Elisa Larson. From Tenalian School, Mariah Lawrenson. From North Pole High School, Sarah Price. From Glen Allen School, Ashlyn Rude. From Homer High School, Juan Sarmiento. From West Anchorage High School, Janya Toomey. And from Colony High School, Isabella Weiss. And now, I will announce the winners of the 2017 Alaska Poetry Out Loud competition. The runner-up from Petersburg High School, Elisa Larson. And first place from Colony High School, Isabella Weiss. Congratulations, you guys. And congratulations, everyone involved. That was amazing. How about another big round of applause for everyone? And thank you to all the parents and families of our State Poetry Out Loud finalists and all the Alaska Poetry Out Loud coordinators for 2017. Special thanks also to our judging staff and Patricia George, Ron Guile, DJ Durego, Noah Tack Post, and the staff of the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council. Thanks to Mary Irvine and the Alaska State Museum. Thanks to the Prospector. Thank you, KTOO and the 360 North Studio. And thank you to our State Poetry Out Loud coordinator, Amanda Fillery. And minus those that are graduating, I hope to see you all next year. And how about another round of applause for our participants? See you next year.
The Alaska State Poetry Out Loud competition is made possible by the Alaska State Council on the Arts in partnership with the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council, the National Endowment for the Arts, and the Poetry Foundation.